Houston and Oklahoma meeting up once again. Will this one be a classic like some of the past ones? I guess it probably depends who we ask.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Crossover edition again, Locked On Cougs, Locked On Sooners, both here, chopping it up a little bit, talking about new journeys that these two programs are on, right? Houston and Willie Fritz, I think, is kind of the more natural one people talk about. New coaches happen all the time in college football. Fritz, for a guy coming from Tulane, is a fairly well-respected coach in circles across the country. But I want to ask about this transition to the SEC because it feels weird to call this a non-conference game. Part of the reason Houston wanted to get in the Big 12 is to play schools that feel more local and close, like in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And now we're playing you as our Power 4 non-conference game. You mentioned Tennessee's coming up. You mentioned expectations. But what's this journey been like? Now you're an SEC program.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to the Houston administration for helping get you guys on the schedule. We needed a Power 5, Power 4 non-conference game, and Houston came through big time for that. So, it's fascinating because I remember when the first news broke back in, again, it was summer of 2021, that Oklahoma and Texas were going to go to the SEC. And I both had a lot of excitement and a lot of, I don't know, kind of bummed out feelings because I grew up watching Big 12 football. We were talking before the show. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area too. And you watch a lot of Big 12 football being from DFW. And so not having some of those matchups over the last 10 years, even with Missouri and Nebraska and A&M and Colorado gone, it created a whole different vibe in the Big 12 anyway. But losing Bedlam, losing, some matchups with like Iowa State, I kind of grew to enjoy the game against West Virginia. That's an intriguing locale for college football, a really good college football town in Morgantown. And then when the expansion happened, I was like, this is what should have happened years ago under Bob Bowlesby. Like they should have been looking to add a program like a Houston where they get a good media market and an intriguing matchup that, again, has had some positive experiences against Oklahoma. So I wish they would have done the expansion thing 6 years ago and maybe kept Oklahoma in the Big 12, but now going to the SEC, I mean, it's hard not to be excited for it because you look at Oklahoma's schedule and there's a marquee matchup pretty much every single week. And even if like you look at South Carolina and okay, that's not a marquee matchup. I don't know if you got a chance to see Dylan Stewart this week, but that dude for South Carolina, true freshman 5-star edge, is every bit of a future first-round draft pick in the NFL. Probably top 5.
I love linemen. That dude does not look like a freshman. I can't believe people in the algebra class had to block him last year. I cannot believe that was a thing.
It's insane. And so, like, even though South Carolina as a team may not get you all excited and geeked up, getting a chance to watch that guy is going to get you excited. And I mean, Houston's had those kind of dudes too, and Ed Oliver and whatnot, but you're going to get more of that every single week with Oklahoma now in the SEC. So, I mean, fans are really, really excited and pumped about it. The coaching staff, the program, I mean, it's been a huge buildup for 3 years getting ready to go into the conference. It's kind of exciting, man. And I hate to kind of say that to my former Big 12 brethren, but it is. And you, as a college football fan alone, not having to wait till bowl season to get some of these big games, it's super fun, dude. And it's just super fun for football fans alone, set aside the Oklahoma fandom as well. Willie Fritz, man, like that's a well-respected coach. I know when Lincoln Riley left, like that was a name that popped up, as watch list kind of a guy for Oklahoma, ends up going to Houston where, hey, Houston is one of those programs that they could really provide a lot of support and a lot of backing. And there's a lot of financials that could be behind him. So there's a chance to grow that thing into something special.
Yeah, the deal will be getting the money that exists in the city of Houston to the University of Houston, right? That's always been the challenge is you got, UT Austin, Texas A&M, LSU, Oklahoma, right? All have alums in the city as well, and trying to get city folks to realize like this is the show in this town, right? And it's worth putting money in here. I will say that Willie Fritz strikes a chord with that old school audience, though. I mean, for whatever reason, there's a lot of Houston area that feels still like football is football is football, and like Willie Fritz is a football guy. He sounds like a football coach. He's always raspy. I was excited about the hire. My only complaint about the hire was that, he's on the older side of things, and are you looking at like a 5-year window and doing this all over again in 5 years? And frankly, he's had way more energy than I would have ever thought a guy in his mid-60s would have had coming in. He's not. I kind of anticipated more like the GM kind of guy that's just in charge of it all, because he is a little bit older, and he is, I mean, drenched in sweat, screaming, yelling. He's got a microphone out at practice when his voice goes out. I mean, he is a lot more energetic, I think, than certainly than I was going to give him credit for. I think he's the right guy to lead the program. I think the journey we're on right now is a lot of guys got off the bus when he got to town. So now you got to get the right guys on the bus, get them in the right seats, and then get the thing moving in the right direction. And we're still kind of at step one at that, getting guys on the bus. Dude, turn Tulane into something. And I've expressed it, but I don't know if you're sooner. I mean, that he made Tulane a respectable program, let alone a conference champion, is pretty remarkable, right? Mm-hmm. He did a national championship level work at Sam Houston State, did well at Blinn, all in this area. And so you got to think that there's some good mojo there, good recruiting connections, et cetera. And so I say all to say I'm excited about it.
Yeah, should be.
I think he's a great coach, and I don't know how you feel about Venables personally. I would like to hear at some point, I think of Venables, because I feel like he's long overdue for the Power 4 thing. Y'all didn't take him. You stuck with your own D coordinator, kind of. I guess you brought him back.
Right. Yeah, no, everybody, I mean, we talked about Willie Fritz being on the short list. I think Brent Venables was the list. When this happened, Joe Castiglione and Joseph Harraz, the AD and the president, they made it pretty quick. I mean, it did not take long for them to figure it out who they wanted to be their next head coach. All it really took was the program showing Brent Venables like, hey, we're ready and willing to invest like we need to invest as an SEC program to make Oklahoma one of the best in the nation from a facility standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a salary standpoint, all of it. And so it was kind of he was their number one target, and he had waited for a really, really long time to get a head coaching job. I mean, he'd been coaching as an assistant for over 30 years in college football before taking a head coaching job. And the last 20 plus years as a defensive coordinator, and someone who'd been on many, many people's short lists. But he talked about how it had to just be the right fit, the perfect fit from an administrative standpoint, from a location standpoint, a program standpoint, and having that familiarity with Oklahoma made a big, big difference in that. And so, we're pumped, man, that Brent Venables is here, because he's an Oklahoma guy, even though he went to Kansas State, played under,
don't hold that against him is what you're saysaying.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Kansas State guy, but I mean, he came with Bob Stoops over here and was a part of that national title, team, and the coaching staff that helped get them to several BCS national title games before going to Clemson. And he's going to help get Oklahoma back to what it wants to do and be a very, very good defensive football team. So there's a lot to be excited about with Brent Venables, even though they go into an SEC where they're not the favorite.